Well, guys, I was in the middle of watching the movie for my next retro redux, but to be honest with you, your boy is sick of watching bad movies. So I decided to switch it up for a little bit, and surprise, surprise, we're back with another banger. Today, instead of the retro redux or TV show review, I decided to review a movie that is very good in my opinion, something that has jumped into my list of movies that have a special place in my heart. We're talking about The Menu.
It was always me versus the world, until I found it's me versus me. Why?
Let me live?
That you live? No, of course not. Can't you see that? And that'd ruin the menu. We're all gonna die tonight.
Now, I wanted to watch this movie for a really long time because I never heard what the hook or the twist or the ending was. I never really got any spoilers, despite the fact the meme, and you know what I say when I say the meme, from this movie is one of the more prominent memes of the past 5 years. Like, there was no way you could escape the meme of Nicholas Hoult getting whispers in his ear and then crying.
Hi, my name is Eminem. Your girl wanted Eminem, so I gave her an Eminem.
Oh my god!
It was that, but also the combination of actors that I was familiar with. Voldemort was in it, I knew Magic was in it, I knew Beast was in it, and I knew Sid from Ice Age was in it. And to be honest with you, just to get right into it, we're going to talk about a ton of spoilers because the film itself really can't be discussed without spoilers. I could give you a quick summation and just my feelings, but this is about how much I love the film, so we're going to go we're going to go in depth with it. I'm not going to make this a super long video, but just something so you guys can understand my perspective and why I enjoy this film. So, speaking of spoilers, there's a twist that happens right at the end of the first act, I'll say, maybe towards the second part of the second act, I guess you could say, that is perfectly placed within the story. It allows you to get that Super Smash Brothers meme when you only got one stock left and you just sit up and lock in. Like, that's what that moment in the film felt like for me. It wasn't like the rest of the stuff in the first act were boring, bad, or even substandard in any way. It was just fine until that moment, and then the film gets way better. And as the film goes along, so many revelations and moments are shown to the audience that it causes you to have almost a completely different view of things the second time you watch it. It is something that absolutely made repeat watches afterwards way more entertaining and allows my love for this film to grow. But I'm talking about my feelings and stuff without you guys even knowing what the movie is about or us being on the same page, so let's get to it. The movie is about a young couple going to a premium island multi-course meal experience by one of the world's most famous chefs, Slowick, portrayed by Ralph Fiennes. They're joined by a group of yuppies, an older couple, a pair of critics, and a not so famous actor and his agent. As the guests indulge in their multi-course meal, the night grows into a much more tense, shocking, and disturbing experience than anyone could have ever imagined. Eventually, it turns out that the meal experience is actually a slow burn torture art piece, and the guests are the canvas and the paint, and I guess the brushes too. The movie to me offers a different perspective on the relationships between art and consumer. The overall conversation, ironically, of videos like mine, channels like mine, just people in general, customers who consume things and offer their opinions majority of the time unsolicited, and how that could affect the creative, how that could affect their passion. Pretty much like capitalism and its effect on the arts. It's not just about the monetary status, it's about what the art piece does and how that creates certain aspects and roles and people in life that could potentially poison the artist's view of what they like doing. Thusly, the guests that are seen in this film are necessarily people who did anything wrong to Chef Slowick or ruined his passion for the game. The guests are pretty much the perfect representatives of what created the Chef Slowick that we see in this movie. Now let's just get right into it with the characters. First up, we got Magic from Rivals, Margot, portrayed by Anya Taylor-Joy, but I think Anya does a great job at being the off-put and indifferent date for Tyler. It's something that they reveal eventually throughout the story that they really aren't a couple. In fact, she is a prostitute or a call girl, essentially, that Nicholas Holt's character character hires because originally he was supposed to bring somebody else, but she broke up with him. And listen, man, if you watch the movie, you can understand why that girl broke up with this dude. Once we have more revelations about this character outside of the fact that her and Nicholas Hoult really aren't a couple, but also she is a call girl, it allows her and Chef Slowick to have a different relationship than he does with the rest of the guests. In fact, she expressed to him in one of their conversations that she did actually enjoy her job and what she was doing, but due to how many broken customers have come to her, one in particular who was actually at the party, is very, very interesting. Her and Chef connect to the fact that they both at one point actually really enjoyed what they were doing, but just because of the insane various kinds of customers, it's killed their passion, it's killed the creative. It turns out that her perspective and her occupation actually allows her to not only survive by being her authentic self, but also kind of give Voldemort his final peace of mind, getting an actual just honest to God customer, someone who is authentic and real with the things that they want, the things that they dislike, and how they're gonna treat it. She has an entire monologue scene where she shoos this dude up. Like she smoked this guy, bro. The bars that she was dropping, there was no way he was gonna kill her because it was just so many truth bombs.
Your single purpose on this earth is to serve people food that they might actually like, and you have failed. You failed, and you've bored me. The worst part is, I'm still fucking hungry.
Then we get to Chef Voldemort, aka Slowick, and Slowick is cold and callous, but to the guests, they believe, that's just part of his charm. He's just one of those hard asses, but he's actually kind of easygoing underneath all of that. But each guest, as the night continues, loses that view of him completely, with varying levels of uncomfortability amongst them, until obviously the eventual reveal of the situation that they're in. I love the Chef Slowick character because he is pretty much the epitome of becoming a victim of his own success, but also just how great of a performance that Ralph Fiennes delivers.
Consider every morsel that you place inside your mouth. Be mindful, but do not eat. Our menu is too precious for that.
He is a memorable villain. The idea of a villain who's completely psychotic, but not just your generic, oh, I'm wacky or super cartoony. He never really has those moments that sacrifice the presentation of his character. Chef Slowick's pretty much become a victim of his own success, like I mentioned earlier, and that's something that artists either fear the entire time they are creatives, or they don't really think about until they're faced with success. Either way, both kinds of artists will eventually deal with something that could potentially damage their passion for whatever their passion is. This is revealed visually with Magic eventually going through his belongings at his cabin on that island, and you could understand completely, without any real dialogue in that scene, why Chef Slowick is the way he is. There's also this aspect of Slowick revealing to each customer why they are there and why he despises their existence, and you could just tell he's loving it. The scarier part with this character is his absolute conviction throughout every action. Outside of him pretty much guaranteeing everyone, like, listen, you can do whatever you want, but you're not going to survive tonight, there is a part that exemplifies his conviction, however, where there is a female chef, one of the chefs who actually had a big hand in planning the entire thing. At one point, Slowick tried to get at her, tried to holler at her. She wasn't with it. He tried it again. She still wasn't with it. So he eventually gave her like the cold shoulder. This is something that I feel like a lot of men have dealt with when it comes to rejection, especially with someone who remains in your social circle for whatever reason, either it's professional or casual. It does get very awkward, and conversations do remain at a minimum. The problem is, since he's the head chef, that could have potentially messed up her career in a way, or also contributed to her loss of love for her passion as being a chef. So because of this, he willingly takes part in a public display of humiliation and pain where she stabs him in the thigh. And it's something that I really did enjoy as a commentary, where he describes a story right before about stabbing his abusive father in the thigh for abusing his mother right in front of him, and he had to step in and protect her at a young age. Then he has a meal in which it is a chicken thigh with a scissor stabbed through it, the same scissor model that the woman stabs him in the leg with. It reminded me of the Thanos side quest in Infinity War where he has to kill Gamora in order to get the Soul Stone, because it was really the moment of, oh shit, this guy means what he says. It isn't just a bad guy talking, it is a bad guy with conviction. Then we get to Tyler, played by Beast from the X-Men movies, and I gotta say, Nicholas Hoult does a fantastic job portraying this parasocial fanboy as the night goes along, just by glazing Chef Voldemort and completely no-selling the horrors and tragedies that everyone else is experiencing.
That was a shock. I didn't see that coming.
He is, like, honest to God, a fucking demented glazer. Like, if he was in the room with LeBron or Duke Dennis, man, the shit would just transform into a Twinkie.
Out of every two niggas in the whole universe, why the f do y'all got me and Brian at the fair though? On some weird shit.
Even Chef is tired of the glazing at one point. You know what I mean? Like, it gets pretty bad. He is the humor center of the film, where he comes off quasi mentally ill, and it gets more apparent as the night goes along. It gets even more demented when you learn he knew what was going to happen that night. It was actually detailed in Chef's email exchanges with Nicholas Holt's character Tyler, and it makes the aspect of him inviting Anya Taylor-Joy's character even worse, considering he knew she was supposed to die. Also, when I first watched the movie, for whatever reason, I don't know what I did, but I definitely looked away when they revealed what happened to him after the chef whispered in his ear. So I just thought, like, he just walked away and just, like, disappeared for the rest of the movie. I was super confused that he just never showed up. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess, like, he just fucking or whatever. But actually, he did. I just wasn't paying attention. So, you know, listen, kids, pay attention when you're watching movies more, for real. Then we get to the critic and her cuck editor. They're probably the most obvious part of what the film is attempting to get at when it comes to pretension, especially amongst critics, whereas there's supposed to be a fine art, and how potentially critics can kill one's passion one way or the other, whether they spread positive reactions to the things that they like, because that, you know, could potentially add pressure, or encourage customers to overload whatever the passion project is for the artist, or destroy it. It's spoken about and revealed in the movie that she's closed several restaurants essentially with her scathing reviews, and despite the fact that she's given Chef Slowick praise over the years, essentially creating him is something that they bring up when it comes to how prominent he's become after her review. And her assistant, or editor I guess, is just a chicken shit. It's even funnier when you realize, like, he is such a chicken shit. Not only does Ralph Fiennes call him out on it, but he's hiding in the chicken coop at one point when all of the men are sent out to run for their lives, and I thought that was really funny. We also got John Leguizamo, and he is fucking hilarious in this movie. I love the line where he just admits to his agent that he's like a name-dropping loser.
I made that up. Why? Because I'm a name-dropping whore, that's why, okay?
And then it's revealed why Slowick wants to kill him, and it is one of the funniest stories ever. Like, it is one of the things where you kind of get to the point where you understand that, yeah, Chef Slowick is crazy, and I understand where he's coming from, but this is fucking ridiculous, dude. Then we get to Leguizamo's agent, and the reasoning why Slowick wants to get rid of her is fucking... It might be the funniest part of the entire movie for me.
What school did you go to?
Brown?
Student loans? No. I'm sorry, you're dying.
There's also this older couple who are actually regulars, which is something that Slowick also despises, because, like, first of all, they're just so indulgent and rich that they're willing to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to return to this island and not even remember the food that they're eating. The older regulars have a story in which the husband is cheating on the wife. He's hiring call girls and prostitutes, and this turns out to intertwine them with the main character even more, because at one point he hired her, and he is also the customer that Magic describes in a story to Voldemort earlier about why she lost her passion, because of just how psychologically fucked up their experience together was. And it's something that is hinted on early in the movie. The wife of the couple is like, hey, I think I recognize that girl, or she just looks so familiar, and the husband is just so angry and dismissive. At first, you maybe think there's like underlying trauma there when it comes to the person that his wife is comparing Anya Taylor-Joy's character to, which is maybe a deceased daughter or estranged daughter. I do wish the wife was given more time, considering by the end, she's pretty much begging for death, and you kind of understand why, but she's never really presented throughout the rest of the movie as someone who completely hates their life. I wish there was given just a little bit more spotlight to the wife character, because she's actually one of my favorites. And then finally we get to the Yuppies. Now the Yuppies are a trio of dude bros that are revealed to have been funneling and laundering money with the person who also owns Chef Slowick's island and restaurant, and that's revealed on tortillas, which is also one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And finally, the staff. I won't go in too much depth with the staff. I'm mainly going to talk about the maitre d'. The maitre d' is, keeping her eye on everything, a little sassy, which I like I said, the way she handles the dude bros, or the way she gives Nicholas Holt's character side eyes throughout the film, is done really well. I think the only thing I don't really like about this character is actually one of the only things I don't like about the movie. The fight scene between her and Anya Taylor-Joy, I felt like could have been handled a little better, in the sense of you could develop Anya Taylor-Joy's character in a way where it's like, the reason why she won this knife fight is because of the fact that she's in her service and she's had to defend herself before. Like, they could have had something where it's like, oh, she has a pocket knife herself just in case, something maybe on her person, not in a purse or a bag or a jacket, something that she knows because of the job that she does, she may need to defend herself. If they had something like that to help her in that fight, I think that scene would have been even more effective and allowed us to understand the entire point of why Slowick and her connect the way that they do. Now let's get to the ending. I thought the ending was a really cool allegory and is covered in metaphors, literally, but I do wish it was a bit more of a punch, maybe visually, maybe if there was a bit more of a budget put behind how grotesque the melting could have been, which, don't get me wrong, the melting of hot chocolate from a ginormous open flame melting into your eyes is a horrifying experience, but I just wish there was a little bit more gore, something a little bit more visually disturbing. But otherwise, this ending and the film itself are relatively tame when it comes to that. Sure, there's a moment where somebody gets their finger chopped off, but that kind of comes and goes, and there really isn't that much focused on visceral aspects of it. Now, that's not something that I needed, but if it was, I think it could have pushed this film a little bit further into more iconic territory on a grander scale. And honestly, I love how the ingredients of the s'more and the s'more that he's making are just how much ire he would describe the customers, and I think all of his chefs would agree with him. The usage and the discussion of fire during the ending to melt the s'more into something better, which he admits is the best part of the s'more. All of the separate ingredients are terrible and processed, whereas when they come together, it's amazing. But the thing that makes them amazing isn't just them coming together, it is the fire. And the way that they describe it as going from a monstrosity with disgusting combinations to something tasty, and how everyone should embrace the flame, which they literally do, but it's also the tool he's used his entire life. Literally and metaphorically burned his life away dealing with assholes like the customers in the restaurant. Something I thought was super powerful, and like I said, I wish it just had more of a punch to it. When it comes to the humor, like I mentioned earlier, this is a black comedy. I think one of my favorite parts is just the text descriptions of the course and the meals as the night goes along. It gets increasingly morbid and a little sarcastic, and I love that.
What the fuck was that?
I also think the dialogue in this film is very realistic and authentic in comparison to a lot of other films I've seen recently or just in general. The first interactions with the staff are incredibly awkward and standoffish, but not in a way that seems super sinister. Just like the chefs and the staff are incredibly disgusted with the people there. Not to say that these people are the worst people in the world, but they definitely look at these customers with ire and disgust, the same way Slowick does, obviously not as powerfully, but the interactions aren't this weird cult feeling that you get. It turns out they just don't like these fucking people. I also liked, which I think is probably my favorite moment or actor moment in the movie, the critic is desperately trying to bargain her way into survival, and the chefs are just like, nah, yeah, you're gonna die, dude. Like, there's nothing you can really do about it. We really don't need money or clout. It's really not about that. It's really about the art. And all the characters just say fuck it and start drinking because it's like, yeah, like it's hopeless, dude. We ain't getting out of here. Overall, I love this movie. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy and Ralph Fiennes killed it. They're phenomenal. I think Nicholas Hoult plays this hilarious buffoon in an amazing way, and he's one of the best parts of this movie, and Leguizamo is hilarious. But what do you guys think about The Menu? Am I overrating this? Is it one of your favorite movies of all time as well? Is it one of your favorite more modern horror movies? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see y'all in the next one. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and as always, bye-bye.